Hello, hello. Welcome to the first episode of the KBFA podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Lonnie Hobbs Jr., Marketing Research Director for Kansas Black Farmers. With me, I have my man Justin. Justin, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Hello, Justin Howard, KBFA. I'm excited to be here today. We have a special guest in the house tonight, and we're just excited to give you guys a ton of information, a bunch of useful tools and things that we can help with your operations. And yeah, just have a good time. And so we're looking forward. This is our first go around, um, and again, we're just excited to give this service to you guys, and hopefully it's something that you can put in your toolbox and use soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to our first guest on the KBFA podcast. We have Tom Buller. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, yeah, my name is Tom Buller. I am the executive director of the Kansas Rural Center. And I guess my background before that is in fruit and vegetable production, although this is not my own high tunnel here in the background. But I do have a background in high tunnel production and other fruits and vegetables. So very excited to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
So yeah, Tom. So we want you to kind of explain some of your programs. I'm sure you guys had it on for a couple of years now, but just kind of outline that for us.
Yeah, so at the Kansas Rural Center, we do a variety of things really focused on farmer education as well as outreach and advocacy. So we do some policy work both at the State House and federally, but the real core of what we focus on is on farmer education. So we have a number of areas we've done historically, did some work on-farm conservation and clean water farms, have done a lot of work around local food systems, promoting farmers markets, promoting direct-to-consumer sales, and also have a long history of doing work around beginning farming, beginning farmer programming. We were one of the sort of founding members of a coalition in the Kansas City metro area that formed a program called Growing Growers. And we're currently developing and starting our own beginning farmer program under a group, a national group called the Farm Beginnings Collaborative. So we work, there's about 15 other organizations in that collaborative, and we do beginning farmer training in about 21 different states. So we're kind of the new member in that group. Some of those organizations have been doing that for a long time, but we're working to really try and support beginning farmers here in the state of Kansas.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Hey, so Tom, we hear you say this term, beginning farmer, beginning farmer. What exactly is a beginning farmer to you guys at Kansas Rural Center?
Yeah, so we don't really have our own definition that we use of beginning farmer. So I guess anybody that considers themselves a beginning farmer, we'd be happy to help you with our programs. So there are some other definitions that float around out there. Probably the most common one is through USDA programs, United States Department of Agriculture. They use the term beginning farmer to mean someone that has less than 10 years of experience farming. And that's a really important definition because there are a number of programs and support that beginning farmers can get specifically. So if you go to the Farm Service Agency and you're looking for a loan, they often have special amounts of those loan monies set aside to support beginning farmers. So if you are in that under 10-year category, you can get access to those. So for the Rural Center, we're happy to help anybody, regardless, of some sort of numerical limit. But for that program, there is a numerical limit. There's also another program that I think is a little bit more strange here. in the state of Kansas. So the Kansas Developmental Finance Authority has a special beginning farmer loan program. So they can help you get, actually help the bank give beginning farmers, under their definition, lower interest rate loans. And so this one is really strange, because what they consider, they actually use the term first time farmer for their beginning farmer loan program. But they consider a first time farmer someone that owns a piece of land that is smaller than 30% of the median county farm size. So that's a really complicated definition that has almost nothing to do with how much experience you have as a farmer. It's all about how much land you own. And that changes by counties across the country or across the state. So this is a Kansas-based program. And so as an example, in Wyandotte County, if you own more than 6 acres of land, you don't fit that definition. You're no longer a beginning farmer. Even if it's your first year of farming, if you buy 7 acres, you don't qualify for that program. If you've been farming 50 years and you only have 5 acres, you would qualify. Versus, so Wyandotte County, the smallest size county in the state. If you go, out into western Kansas, where land there is more abundant, I guess. Some of those can be up to a beginning farmer might be someone that has less than 336 acres, which was the case for Comanche County. So, yeah, that was a long answer and very confusing, but it is important to note, I guess the key takeaway from that is that there are government programs, both from the United States Department of Agriculture and here in Kansas, from the Kansas Development Finance Authority, that are targeted at beginning farmers. And for those programs, that definition is really important. For the Rural Center, we're happy to help everybody.
That's awesome. And I guess we would recommend, if you are starting out with a new operation, definitely check into your FSA office locally in your county.
Yes.
And I'm sure they'll help direct you. And if they don't, for some reason, because we do sometimes hear reports about that, you can let us know or document that for sure. But more than likely, they'll be glad to help you. They'll probably point you to the NRCS and different agencies within the USDA and get you rolling. Definitely also reach out to Tom. But on that note, Tom, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in there and say, and then for some of those FSA loan programs, they'll give them to you under 10 years, but they don't want to give them to you in your first year of farming. So that sometimes you have to have at least 3 years of experience. So there is kind of a sweet spot there between 3 years and 10 years where you can get a lot of those beginning farmer programs. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no worries. The next question I had was, what are like the top 3 recommendations that you have for beginning farmers, or the top 3 things to avoid or challenges?
Yeah. So I think the first thing that I recommend, and when we do the Rural Center, when we do our farm beginnings training, we spend quite a bit of time on this. Is to really spend a lot of time thinking about your own personal vision and your own personal goals as you're starting a farm. I think one of the challenges, I mean, it's an amazing opportunity, but one of the challenges with farming is there are so many different things you can do. It's easy to try and do too much. It's easy maybe to get distracted, like maybe your passion in life is really, growing tomatoes, or, maybe you're just really interested in raising bison, or whatever your passion is. There's all sorts of other opportunities and things that will come up and try and distract you. So spending a lot of time as you're starting, like at the beginning, thinking about your vision and goals. And I would guess I would add onto that, just to maybe write those down, because it's easy to kind of forget those. So spending time, we're coming into the real busy season for farmers, but over the winter, spend time thinking about your goals. What kind of lifestyle do you want for your family, and yourself? It's easy to spend, all your time, all your energy on your farm. So there's like a never-ending list of things to do. So creating those boundaries, based on your goals and vision, is really important. And so that would be, I guess, maybe my second of my top three recommendations is to really pay attention, to some of those needs that you have. And so one of the things I find a lot with beginning farmers, especially who I've worked with, but probably all farmers to some extent, is they tend to maybe not pay attention to their own needs as much as they should. So those could be their financial needs. Like if you have a certain amount of money you need to make, it can be hard to do that just with farming. So maybe you need to think about how can you integrate your farm with an off-farm career. Likewise, I mentioned a minute ago, there is like this never-ending list of things to do. There's always more to do on a farm. So I know, and for myself, when I was a beginning farmer, and I see a lot of people do this, is they just work all the time, and really, take time off every week. Set aside a day if you can, 2 days if you can. I mean, a lot of farms, those maybe don't feel like realistic options. But if you don't do that, in the not so short term, you'll get burnt out. Maybe you'll get tired and have an accident, have an injury due to that. So really, as a beginning farmer, trying to start out by paying attention to your needs and not just thinking like, oh, once my farm's established, then I'm going to worry about taking time off, or then I'm going to worry about these other things, and trying to, like, push aside your personal needs, physical, mental, financial, all of those things. So definitely
Work-life balance,
um,
right?
pay attention to that. Yeah. And then finally, I think, and this one's maybe more of a specific thing, if you are focused on making your farm a sort of, I guess, a viable business, making it a primary source of your income. One of the things I think you need to think about from the beginning is this idea of efficiency. So, like I say, there's always more to do. So, how can you simplify your farm operation, simplify what you're doing? And I really can talk for a couple hours about that topic. But just thinking about that from the beginning, whether that means that all of your equipment is set up so it fits on the same size rows, or you have a process that how to invoice customers if you're doing direct sales, or whatever it is. But so it's like you're not just like writing things on scraps of paper and dealing with them later, like really trying to think about creating those efficient systems from the beginning is important. And if you don't have any experience farming, that's really hard to do, to think about like, what systems do I need? And that's where I think, workshops like we try and offer at the Rural Center. I know that Kansas State Research and Extension has some good workshops too, like going out for those resources to help you figure out what you need to know from the beginning
Lonnie,
is important.
right up Lonnie's alley right there.
Oh yeah. Hey, so Tom, are there any specific resources or can you distinguish between the resource options for the smaller scale farmers versus the larger? I know recently or previously you mentioned that some resources are only available if you have less than 6 acres of land. But if you have more, then you may need to go in different directions. So, can you distinguish between just a few of the resources available for the small farmers and those that are available for our larger scale farmers?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So that's a very specific loan program, and again, that is by county. So the 6 acres is for Wyandotte County. I didn't look at the chart. They come up with a chart for those sizes here where I'm at in Douglas County. It's like
Okay.
85 acres. So even though myself, I've been farming for what is it now? Probably 16, 17 years.
Oh man.
Under that definition, I would still count as a beginning farmer because I'm a small farmer. So I just
Yeah.
have around 30 acres here. But so there aren't a lot of resources maybe that are listed sort of by size besides that program from the
Hmm.
Kansas Developmental Finance Authority. But there are a lot of programs that maybe don't fit as well at a certain scale. So there are programs through the Natural Resource Conservation Service, or like the NRCS, that will maybe pay you a cost share to do conservation practices on your farm. And often those cost shares are like based on a per acre basis. And it's not a lot of money per acre. So maybe they'll pay you to plant a cover crop. And I'm just making this number up. I don't know what the current cost share is, but maybe they'll pay you $20 an acre to plant a cover crop. So if you have a farm that's a half acre, going down and filling out that paperwork for a $10 payment isn't really worth your time, probably. Versus if you have a farm that's 1,000 acres, that's a $20,000 payment like that. So a lot of those programs at the federal level are kind of scaled in that way based on per acreage. So the bigger you are, the more beneficial they are. And I know there's a lot of work going on right now to try and fix that, because that is seen as a problem, because most of the farmers in the country are small farmers. So a lot of them don't get a lot of benefit from some of those programs. So right now, not to go down too political of a path, but we are in the midst of working through a new farm bill that hopefully will be authorized sometime in 2023 here. And those kinds of issues are things that people are bringing up to try and, like, how can we make programs like that work for smaller growers?
Yeah.
So yeah, so there aren't a lot of programs that say, like, if you're too small, you can't access these resources. Um, but there's probably even fewer programs that are really just specifically for small farmers. So small farmers just have to figure out where the amounts work out for them. Um, I'm trying to think. Sometimes programs from conservation districts are targeted to certain acreages. So here where I'm at in Douglas County, to apply to some of those, you have to have over 40 acres. So that's a larger farm. So not a big farm yet, but larger than a lot of our small, especially like fruit and vegetable growers, are maybe operating at 5 to 10 acre scale. So
Gotcha. Oh man, that's some pretty interesting information, and I know there are a lot of farmers, especially within KBFA, that can use that information. We are constantly searching for resources that can help our farmers to be successful. So just having you on here and having you to share your knowledge, your expertise, and thoughts about some of these resources available is very, very key. Now, I do want to kind of transition, Justin. If you want to slip something in here, you can. But Tom, I was going to say, if you could wrap this up and put a nice bow on it, what would be your take-home message for KBFA farmers and the other farmers that are out there listening to this webinar or to this podcast?
yeah, that's a great question, and I do want to go back to that statement you just made about resources. So I guess the take home message that hopefully people will take from this is there are a lot of resources out there. Um,
Yeah.
And especially if you're a new farmer, it can be really overwhelming even to try and keep track of what those resources are. And if you start talking about government programs, I mean, you end up with like ABC and XYZ, the acronyms. You got the USDA has the SARE program, has the NRCS, has the FSA. Like, we have one of the organizations we work with at the Rural Center, the National Sustainable Ag Coalition, has a list of those, and it's 8 pages long of like, these are all the federal government programs, and they don't all apply to every farm. So anyway, I'm trying to just say, like, there's an overwhelming amount of information about the resources, not even about how to grow your tomatoes or how to raise a hog, like just the resources that are out there, some of which might help you, some of which might not. So I guess the one thing I want people to take away is to try and reach out and ask. Whether that is the Kansas Rural Center or KBFA, or like you said earlier, like contact your FSA office, and if the Farm Service Agency office, and if they don't help you, talk to someone else, because there are programs designed to help beginning farmers, to help kind of almost whatever you're trying to do in agriculture. There's probably something out there to help you with that, and to really look for those resources. But it can be very overwhelming at first. So try not to get overwhelmed. Ask for help. There are folks out there to help you.
Ask not, receive not is what they used to tell me. And there are a ton of different opportunities, and that's work in itself, guys. You got to be able to be willing to put in work to shift through those resources and to make sure it aligns with your vision for your farm and stuff. So yeah, and I guess we're gonna wrap this up. Tom, Ronnie, I know that we couldn't wait to get to this podcast. I couldn't personally, just because I know that there's a lot of opportunities for beginning farmers in our network, and this is just kind of like a starting point to kind of point people in the right direction, let them know that there are resources and supports systems that you can take advantage of. And one last thing, question, Tom. I know that we spoke earlier about potential offerings for the winter and fall, kind of in the off season. You want to talk to that real quick, and then?
Yeah. So Kansas Rural Center, we are working on, having ongoing trainings every year for beginning farmers. So this year we wrapped up kind of an abbreviated training. We did a 3-week training in January. This coming fall, we are going to do an 8-week training series for beginning farmers. We try and make this open to everybody, kind of regardless of what you're interested in growing. So I'm not going to talk to you about vegetable production, although I would love to. That's really my passion in life. But we'll talk about whatever is helpful. So we try and focus on those high level things that apply to all farms. So business planning, business management, really thinking about your goals, your visions, and your values, and helping farmers figure out where they're going and providing those resources. So we don't have dates for that set yet. We'll probably be starting in mid-November or early December, and then going through the late fall and winter of 2023 and 2024. So yeah, stay tuned. You can find out more information at our website, kansasruralcenter.org. So yeah, thank you.
Yes, looking forward to that personally myself.
Hey Justin, if you don't mind, I want to throw in a quick announcement. April 27, 2023, from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m., KBFA will be holding our quarterly meeting. And this will be at the K-State Salina campus. We'll have a special guest from Mr. Joseph Salvador Palm, Regional Director of Region 7, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. So please, please, please join us April 27th, 9:30 a.m. at K-State Salina. You can RSVP at www.kbfa.org.
Go register, people. We can't wait to
Yes,
see you guys there.
please.
Well, thanks, Tom. You're a wealth of information, and we're sure the programs that you guys offer at the Rural Center could definitely support some of our farmers in our networks. Remember, the website is ruralcenter.org.
Yes, yes.
KansasRuralCenter.org. Yep.
KansasRuralCenter.org. You can reach us at KBFA.org. Give us a call. Go to the website. We'll put you in the hands of these great people such as Tom that can help you out with your operation. And we're just excited, you guys. This is a movement, and for whatever your operation is, we're here to help you guys out. And just want to give a personal thanks to Tom for accommodating your schedule around us and being willing to come on and share some information with us. And so thanks again for doing that.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hopefully,
all right,
we'll have more podcasts coming, guys. So be on the lookout.
Yes, yes. This is the inaugural, the first ever KBFA podcast, episode 1, and it was an honor. Tom, I just want to re-echo what Justin just said. It's an honor to have you here, man. This was awesome. So thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both.
All right.
All right, and we are signed off.